Petition containing more than 20,000 signatures has been sent to Missouri Governor Mike Parson asking him to grant clemency to a St. Louis man sentenced to die 2 weeks from tonight.
Kevin Johnson is on death row for killing Kirkwood Police Sergeant Bill McEntee. Supporters of Johnson rallying today in Jefferson City. Fox News' Kelly Hoskins looking at the emotions that this case is stirring up locally.
Missourians for Alternatives to the Death Penalty, the NAACP, religious organizations, and others rallied at the Missouri State Capitol in Jefferson City Tuesday, hoping to win clemency for Kevin Johnson. Organizers believed he received the death penalty because of racially biased prosecution.
We see now that prosecutors are embracing the mantle of justice, preventing people from being killed simply because of the inequities of the system. It's so important that we continue that work. Kevin Johnson is one of many people who are suffering in Missouri's penal institutions as a result of the injustices.
37-year-old Kevin Johnson is scheduled to be executed November 29th for the 2005 murder of Kirkwood Sergeant William McEntee. Johnson killed McEntee when he was 19 years old. Johnson's family and friends says he regrets it.
I would want them to know that my dad, he's not a bad person. Like, he just made a terrible mistake that could possibly cost him his life. But I would just want them to, like, have mercy on him and, you know, just kind of reconsider.
Ramona Miller was Johnson's biology teacher at Kirkwood High School.
I truly believe that this is a case that he has taken responsibility for what he did. No one is asking for him to be released, but I truly believe that in this case, this instance, that the death penalty is not warranted.
Teresa Fuller has known Johnson since the 4th grade and often talks with Johnson.
He is very remorseful. You know, he greatly is wholeheartedly wants to give his condolences to the family and let them know that it was a mistake and he was truly sorry.
Former longtime St. Louis County prosecuting attorney Bob McCullough, who prosecuted the case, said at the time the death penalty was appropriate in Johnson's case because Johnson ambushed and deliberately attacked McEntee. McCullough saying Johnson shot the officer 5 times in the patrol car, which crashed, and then shot the officer 2 more times when he was pulled out of his car on his hands and knees. Missouri Governor Mike Parson's office says all clemency issues are reviewed by the parole board. His office said these are not decisions that the governor takes lightly, and the process is underway as it relates to the execution scheduled for later this month.
Yo, what the fuck it do, good people? We back, baby. Man, appreciate y'all tapping in, man. Make sure y'all like, comment, share, and subscribe, man. I don't know what's up with y'all, man. Ain't no blogger on the internet talking how I'm talking and giving y'all this message the way I'm giving it to y'all, man. Keep it 100. Not how Hassan Campbell or none of them guys. I promise you. But, yeah, man, Kevin Johnson. So that video from a couple weeks ago, you know, they denied his motions, you know, for a stay on the execution. Now, if people familiar with death penalty, you know, it's a lot of, you go through a lot of appeals. Because they, for the most part, they want to make sure they, you know, executing the right person. They want to make sure you are actually guilty before they do this execution. That's why, if people didn't know, that's why a lot of times you'll see people on death row for 15, 20 years before they actually get executed because they're just going through the appeal phase. Now, it's a lot of people for the death penalty, it's a lot of people not. Me, I think it need to be used in certain cases, but it seems like to me it only get used on certain people at a very high number, and we're going to talk about that. But one of the people that you just seen in that video was a young woman by the name of Cora Ramey. Well, that's Kevin Johnson's daughter. They don't really mention it in that video, but that's his daughter. So picture this, right? Imagine, you know, you've been locked up, or your family member been locked up basically your whole life. So as you growing up, all you see is pictures. But, you know, that's when you're real young, maybe like 2, 3 years old. But as you get older, say around 5, 6, 7, you start having conversations with your family member. But you don't know if they never coming home. Like I said, you still young. You might not figure that out till about 7, 8. You know, when your family start telling you the truth about everything. But this is your loved one. You don't know them for none of these things they've been accused of or they was guilty of. So you built this bond, tight bond. You know, if you're a female, you know, you call them when you go on your prom, or after your prom they call you and you tell them how your day went. As a male, you talking to them about your first girlfriend. You know, like, those conversations are real special. People don't like to admit that, but a person can be arrested and still have some type of influence in their child life. Maybe marginal, but some type of influence. You know, you might really count on them phone calls every day. So now it's 13, 14 years in. Like I said, you've been riding with them the whole time. You know, you treat them just like they was on the streets. You don't really look at them that's in there like they in there, because they've been in there your whole life. You don't know them outside of the jail or outside of the prison. And you want to, you know, you want to stick it out with them as long as possible. But you know, at the end of your mind, you know they got this date coming. You know, they got this date. This is something that's well understood. But you don't really know the law, so you don't think that you might not be able to go, or you're not going to be able to participate. And that's what leads us to today. Listen to this. A 90-year-old woman is asking the federal court to allow her to watch her father's death by injection, despite a Missouri law bringing anyone under 21 from witnessing the execution. Kevin Johnson faces execution on November 29th for killing Kirkwood, Missouri police officer William McEntee in 2005. Johnson's lawyers have appeals pending that seek to spare his life. Meanwhile, Johnson has requested that his daughter, Cora Ramey, attend the execution, and she wants to be there. On Monday, the American Civil Liberties Union filed an emergency motion with a federal court in Kansas City. The ACLU's court filing said the law barring under 21 served no safety purpose and violates Ramey's constitutional rights. Ramey, in a court declaration, called Johnson the most important person in my life. If my father were dying in the hospital, I would sit by his bed holding his hand and praying for him until his death, both as a source of support for him and as support for me, as necessary part of my grieving process and for my peace of mind, Ramey said. Johnson, now 37, has been incarcerated since Ramey was 2. The ACLU said the two have been able to build a bond through visits, phone calls, emails, and letters. Last month, she brought her newborn son to the prison to meet his grandfather. ACLU attorney Anthony Rothart said if Ramey can't attend the execution, it will cause her irreparable harm. Meanwhile, Johnson's lawyers have filed appeals seeking to halt the execution. They don't challenge his guilt, but claim racism played a role in his decision to seek the death penalty. And in the jury's decision to sentence him to die, Johnson is black and McEntee was white. Johnson's lawyer also have asked the court to intervene for other reasons, including a history of mental illness and his age. He was 19 at the time of the crime. Courts have increasingly moved away from sentencing teen offenders to death since the Supreme Court in 2005 banned the execution of offenders who are younger than 18 at the time of their crime. In a court filing last week to the U.S. Supreme Court, the Missouri Attorney General's office stated there were no grounds to court intervention. The surviving victims of Johnson crimes have waited long enough for justice, and every day longer they must wait is the day they are denied the chance to finally make peace with their loss, the state petition stated. McEntee, a husband and father of 3, was among the police officers sent to Johnson's home on July 5, 2005 to serve a warrant for his arrest. Johnson was on probation for assaulting his girlfriend, and police believe he had violated probation. Johnson saw officers arrive and woke his 12-year-old brother, Joseph Bam Bam Long, who ran next door to their grandmother's house. Once there, the boy who suffered from a congenital heart defect collapsed and began having a seizure. Johnson testified at trial that McEntee kept his mother from entering the house to aid his brother, who died a short time later at the hospital. Later that evening, McEntee returned to the neighborhood to check on unrelated reports of fireworks being shot off. That's when he encountered Johnson. Johnson pulled the gun and shot the officer. He then approached the wounded, kneeling officer and shot him again, killing him. The execution would be the first of 3 in the coming months in Missouri. The state plans to execute convicted killer Scott McGillen on January 3rd and Leonard Taylor on February 7th. 16 men have been executed in the United States this year. Alabama inmate Kenneth Eugene Smith had been scheduled to die Thursday for killing a preacher's wife in a murder for hire plot. But the execution was halted because state officials couldn't find a suitable vein to inject the lethal drugs. Before I get into Cora Ramey, what I don't understand is, how does what he did qualify him for the death penalty? But you got guys like Nicholas Cruz, you know, the Parkland shooter, who killed 17 people. Not one, not a police officer, but 17 people. And he gets his life spared. Now, me, honestly, I think I would rather die than do life in prison. So that's why I don't really understand this. You know, like, I don't get why is it a death penalty? Like, who is that for? Because they make it out like it's for the victims' family members. But I have a hard time believing that. Especially after 17 years that went past. You mean to tell me after 17 years that went past, you want to sit there and watch this person die? When you know that it's way harder doing life in prison. That's death while you woke. But enough about that. We'll get back into that. How y'all feel about what's going on with Shorty? Do y'all think that she need to be able to see her father? She should be. I get a argument. It makes perfect sense. Like I said, she been riding with him this long. It's like, yo, it's almost like you cheating her for her to not to be able to participate. For real. Let her hold his hand. Let her. I mean, like, yo, we gotta have a certain level of compassion, yo, and that's how this system. It don't work that way. It's like they give certain people breaks and then just put the motherfucking full court press on other people and their family members. Some of these laws, man, they need to be situational. You got Kevin Johnson committed a crime when he was 19 years old. Now he my age, 37. And it gets to a point where it's like, yo, y'all not killing the same person who committed this crime. Look at this guy. Look at the pictures of him. You can't convince me that's the same dude in 2005 that's still in jail in 2022. The mind didn't grew. He didn't grew. Not even thinking the same. And then it's like, how can you not factor in the circumstances that led to the death? Now, I know he was dead wrong for basically killing that officer for next to no reason. But in his mind, it wasn't for no reason. He basically was saying that, you know, this officer was the cause in his brother dying. He didn't like how the officer treated his mother when his brother was going through what he was going through. How can they not be sympathetic toward that? How can that still give him the death penalty when you got people killing for no reason and they not getting the death penalty, they getting spared? Some of them don't even get life. I think they really need to take the laws out of the state's hands. Not saying it need to be all federally. It need to be up to the people, man. That's the only way I can think they can get this shit right. And they gotta be people of the community, people of your peers. I think that'd be fair, man. Because what's going on in Missouri and the United States with this death penalty shit is like they only killing blacks. These numbers is crazy. 43% of the inmates on death row are black. 43%. But, you know, like I said, you know, I always talk about our population numbers. It shouldn't be that way. The population numbers should line up almost identically to the prison numbers. So if we 12% of the population, we should no way near be 50% of the prisons, 75% of the prison population. No, that's not right. It ain't right. Especially when you consider that everybody commit crimes at the same pace. All you gotta do is look at the numbers. But I think the judge need to do the right thing, man. Let this young woman spend time with her father before he, take his last breath. Like, I think that really can cause her damage to have to miss that. Considering she been riding it out since basically day one in her life. And that's the thing, they can make little tweaks. They can do that if they want to. We see in situations where they let millionaires be on the streets the whole time they supposed to be arrested. Jeffrey Epstein, he still was working his damn job. So we know they can make tweaks if they want to, but they gotta want to first. Or do y'all think that, a law is a law and stand by? Who is she? Why should she be special? Her father did kill somebody. And do y'all think the death penalty is really for the family? Because I really don't think it is, man. I think the state actually get a joy out of killing black folks. For real. It's almost next to the thing they used to do back in the slavery times. Or Jim Crow. It's like the equivalent. But I could be wrong. Let me know how y'all feel about some comments, man. Subscribe to the channel, support the real.